Hello, Sam for Upgrade here, and today I thought I'd show you a rocket I've wanted to build for quite some time. It's basically a rocket that carries probes. It's not designed to land anywhere, but I'm going to use this to probe the atmosphere of Duna so we can decide what kind of a rocket we're going to need to escape the atmosphere once we've landed, so we can bring all the Kerbals home. This really is something I wanted to do. It's kind of a miniature series I was hoping to do to explore the Kerbal universe and maybe land on every large body there is. So I've designed this right. It's kind of small. It looks like probably not enough to launch, I thought, but in actual fact it does a very good job, and we have just enough fuel to get into orbit in that lower stage. There's probably a more efficient way to do it, but I'm not very good with maths, or I'm not really good with astrophysics either, so yeah, that's the best I could come up with. We do have 2 probes on there. I know we only need 1 for Duna, but the other probe is on there for a reason. And, well, there's a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is, obviously, when you're taking off an atmosphere, it's going to like symmetry, it's going to like balance. So that was the first reason. And the second reason is, I guess, if we're going to Duna, we may as well, go to Ike, because it's got to be fairly easy to land on. So I put a probe on there so we can find out exactly what kind of gravity it's got on there. I don't know if it's got an atmosphere or what. I've not really been yet. So we've got another probe for that. So as you can see, the lower stage got us into an orbit there, a parking orbit. I wasn't quite happy with the 81 kilometers it achieved at first. So what I did was adjust it a little bit using the nuclear rocket. Now, that didn't go so well, because I left Time Warp on as I was escaping the orbit and then tried to maneuver back to my target node, and, well, it was obscured a little bit, so I do pay for that later on. And basically what we're doing now, we've escaped the sphere of influence for Kerbin, and we're now trying to get those arrows right next to each other so we can get an encounter with Duna. You can see it burning away there, and really it's so slow. Really slow. I mean, we're talking like 7 minutes for each burn, because of that tiny, well, it's not a tiny engine, it's very efficient, but it's very slow. I'm not sure what the correct terminology is. So anyway, we get our encounter, and you can see there we've got an extremely obscured orbit, so I have to correct that, and I cut that out because it's incredibly boring and takes a long time. Eventually we get something that looks kind of spherical and straight. It's not straight though, it's inclined slightly, and again I pay for that. So we launch our first probe, the one with the wings, and as you can see there, and I just realised at this point that I'd forgotten to put a parachute on, so if anything goes wrong, as it is likely to, then we have no way of landing. And landing on a planet with an atmosphere, with a tiny ant engine and no parachute, is kind of suicide. So we'll give it a go anyway. I'm just burning there retrograde in the hopes that I can slow down in time. And my microphone just cut out, so I now have to record this part all over again. Anyway, basically, we're trying to slow down, and really, I can let you in on a secret, we don't. I left the burn far too late, I forgot to put a parachute on, the control surfaces are far too small. Would you like me to add any more to the list? But we come in too hard and too far. So earlier on I did activate the pressure sensor and the gravity device Moohickey, and it told us a few things that we need to know. Basically, we have crashed, but we do know now that it has a thin atmosphere and the gravity is slightly less than Kerbin's. So, we do need a vessel capable of escaping an atmosphere and the gravity of a large celestial body. So, while we can make a smaller ship than, to get out of Kerbin, we probably want to make one that's quite similar. So anyway, we're done with that now. We go back to the main ship, which was quite difficult and has messed up the map screen. As you can see, it's all shaky. We will now go to Ike, and I am again terrible with these nodes, and I come in at a really weird angle. I try to adjust it, I end up going through the planet, or the moon even. We get down nice and low, and in a minute we'll do a flyby past the surface. It's kind of a boring moon. There's a few interesting features, like the side that faces the sun is a different colour to the one that doesn't, and you get a little transition colour in between. A few craters, but nothing that interesting. So we do a flyby, and then we'll decide where we want to launch our probe and see if there's anything actually of any interest at all. So there we are, we've gone around, and yeah, I think sort of just past that grey area, just well into the sunlight, so we can see exactly where we're landing. I don't want to screw this landing up, because of the last one. I want to at least have some data we can use when we get back. Although we did learn a little bit about Duna, it would be nice to have a working space probe on Ike that we can communicate with. So I'm doing a retrograde burn here, and we come down. You can see there I'm going slow enough, so I'm being very careful at this point. I'm probably burning too much fuel, but that doesn't really matter because once this probe's here, it's not going anywhere else. It'd be nice to clean up space junk, I suppose, but we're just going to leave it here to send some information home. And cut the engines, I think, in a little bit. And we'll get down below 1 meter per second, perhaps. And here we go. And touchdown. And we're there. Okay, and the gravity we can see is so low that, in fact, the SAS keeps the probe upright. Anyway, now I have the job of trying to merge the rest of the narration with this. So yeah, we can see there we've got some information about Ike and a bit less about Duna. But that's pretty much everything we came for. At this point, I switch back to the main ship and we want to return. We want to have Jebediah for our next mission to actually go to Duna and land on there so that we can carry out further tests and then figure out a way of getting him back home. I am terrible at orbiting or creating orbits and encounters. So a lot of the time, I come in the wrong way or I come in some sort of crazy angle. Nevertheless, we do get back to Kerbin eventually, and I do screw up again, and we have a horrendous orbit. Now, I didn't go straight for Kerbin. I did try and land this on the moon, but it was kind of off the side. Like, I'm trying to do this semi-realistically, so I'm not going to relaunch the probe. Because if that had failed in real life, it would have failed completely. But on the side, I did a quick save, and I tried to land this on the moon. And really, we do not have enough structural integrity to land there on top of that engine, because the single engine can't take the weight, and it just snaps off every time, even if I landed below 1 meter a second. Anyway, we're coming in here very, very hot. Luckily, there's no heat damage yet, because that parachute would have burnt. I didn't mean to deploy that, but I messed the staging up, so there we go. We've got some mock effects there as we come in through the atmosphere. Jebediah looks, well, it's hard to tell from here. I think he looks a mixture of happy, turned on, and depressed. But never mind. We can see, actually, it looks pretty good. We've gone to a mountainous region, so we're not going to hit sea level once again. But we will land, and take our time. And then I'm probably going to do him an EVA, because he's been cooped up in there for what? I can't remember what it was. Either close to a year or over a year, I can't remember. But he's been alone and cooped up in his capsule. For the next mission, I will be going to the moon first, as in Mun. And then I will be landing on Duna and finally Ike. So that will be our next mission. Now we are aware of what kind of a vessel we need to get out of Duna's atmosphere. There we go, we've landed. So I'll let him stretch his legs. Well, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully you like this video, and I'll make another one. Alright, see you next time.